We'll just wait a minute because her friend Barbara's coming. She's just running around in the she used to be around so many other kids, and she's the outside. Oh, good morning. It's a beautiful day, and I was just so thankful that we woke up this morning. It was a little gray, and then all of a sudden the sun comes out. The sun came out for Mom, and it's a beautiful place that we can gather in today and to remember her. It's a sad day, but also we have many things to be thankful for. That we had a mom and a grandma, a Gigi, who we don't have to try to fish for words. We don't have to try to find words that express how loved she was and how much she gave to us. We are very fortunate. I'm going to talk a little bit about that in just a few minutes. But let's start with a word of prayer, and then Catherine's going to come and sing. Heavenly Father, we're so thankful for Dottie Zimmerman. You know, Lord Jesus, each one of us, our hearts are broken that she is not with us any longer. And Father, I just pray that you would be with us today as we honor this very special woman, this woman that has impacted each one of our lives. Oh Lord Jesus, I pray for comfort, we pray for strength, and we ask this because you are a powerful God, a loving God. In Jesus' name, amen.
As I was thinking of a song to sing today, I just kept thinking of the word good and goodness. And the definition of goodness can be summed up very simply. It's the beneficial or nourishing element of food or things that you ingest, or the quality of being morally good or virtuous, a belief in the basic goodness of mankind. And there's no better definition to describe Grandma, who she was. We were talking about whenever we would drive up to see Grandma, it wasn't we were going to Grandma and Papa's house. It was we were going to Grandma's house. Because you always know who makes a house a home, and that was Grandma. She loved us. She always asked us when we had our sandwich, we never were allowed to have white bread or iceberg lettuce in our home. So when we went to Grandma's, that was very special for us. She always asked us if we wanted it cut in fork or cut in diagonal. And those are things that we'll always remember. But she was morally good. You never heard her say anything bad about anybody. You always heard her being an encourager or the person that always stood in your corner. And for that, that's why I chose this song.
Amen.
Make a switch. I feel like I need a step stool here. Good morning and welcome to the celebration of our mom's life. Trying to put my thoughts into words seems quite daunting. But having the opportunity, however, is a privilege and an honor to speak in behalf of our family. This place and having each one of you here today is what Mom wanted. She even told us the kind of flowers she wanted, and I think we picked out the urn together. This is just what she wanted. Having you here is just what she wanted. A few months back, while visiting Mom, I asked to take her picture. She liked to have her picture taken. But this was not a normal photo. I asked her to show me her hands. Those aged hands seemed to show a lifetime of experience and love. And here they are. Here's Mama's hand. Isn't that beautiful?
Mm-hmm. That's
a beautiful hand that we got to hold many times. She got to hold us. I'm just going to put that there. Those aged hands seem to show a lifetime of experience, of love, and of serving. We all loved, we all benefited from those hands that daily showed her love and commitment to each of us here today. From Buckeye balls to homemade pickles, applesauce, scarves, placemats, Valentine crafts, and her final craft, those St. Patrick's Day gnomes. These hands are a visual reminder of the sacrificial love that Mom showed to her husband, to her children, to her family, and to her friends. And we all have been benefited many times from the cards that we received. I think that the Dollar Tree is going to go out of business, and the post office is going to take a deficit. Mom asked me what I was going to do with the photo, and I told her I was going to speak at a women's conference, and that my subject was going to be, blessed are the hands that serve. And right there before me was an example of servanthood that I wanted to attain for myself. I want to be like my mom. Jesus told his disciples that the greatest among us is a servant to all. Our mom was a servant to all. She loved to serve. She loved to make us happy. She loved to make others happy. As we reminisce about our childhood, we remember pot roast Sundays with mashed potatoes and that silky brown gravy, topped off with chocolate pudding in the fancy dishes. We recall the costumes, the tea towel tops, Christmas morning, trips to Geneva, and the support she gave. Mom was always ready to celebrate, whether it was a birthday, softball, lacrosse wins, graduations, piano recitals, weddings, and most of all, the new babies born into the family. She was a proud mom, a proud grandma, a proud Gigi. If you will imagine with me for just a few moments, Mom's hands as a young woman, just getting the news that her long-awaited desire to have a baby was coming to pass. I imagine Mom's hands gently, lovingly, protectively placed on her still flat stomach. And as the days and the weeks and the months progressed, Mom's hands gently rubbed the place where she could feel the growth and kicks of her yet unseen baby. Gracias. Her hands would reach out to hold for the first time that tiny infant that she had just delivered. She did this 6 times. Her hands would hold on to her beloved Ed as they stood in amazement at that tiny person that was all theirs. As the time slipped by, Mom's hands still loved. They still protected. They still nourished. They still served and still held us close when we were hurting. They clapped at our birthdays and our successes. I can only imagine the number of Band-Aids she tenderly applied to our scrapes and bleeding knees. And the boo-boo bunnies she crafted for our grandchildren. Mom's hands were folded every night as she said her prayers. Prayers that included each one of your names, asking for God's blessing and protection. She did confess to me one day, though, that often she fell asleep while she was praying for you. Mom's hands were never idle, and oh, her brain was never idle either. Until the last days of her life, she enjoyed a cup of coffee and her puzzle from the Times Union every morning. She had the gift of giving. Mom's hands never wanted to let go of those she loved. There is something quite special and irreplaceable in our mother's hands. We will all miss her reaching out to us as we visited, and that hug as we said, goodbye, see you soon. As much as Mom loved serving, she liked to talk and tell everybody's news. She was the family town crier. Whatever news there was, she wanted to be the one to tell. She rejoiced with us when the news was amazing and exciting, and she sorrowed up with us when there was sadness and grief. She was the voice of encouragement and was always looking for another day in which to love, to laugh, to serve. She was a strong and determined woman in that tiny body of hers. Mom lived a great long life. When I tell people that our dad lived to the age of 99 and Mom to the age of 96, they are amazed. We are beyond blessed to have had parents for all those years, to have had their influence, their commitment, and their love since the moment of our birth is rare. It's a beautiful thing. A while back, when we thought Mom was in her final days, I came up to see her. And when I walked into the living room, Mom was sitting in her favorite chair. And with a clear, resolute voice, she said, Kathy, I'm ready to meet Jesus. That thrills me, even now. I think that's how I'm going to remember her. I'm ready to meet Jesus, she told me. The Bible tells us, to whom much is given, much is required. We have been given much. Each one of us here today in the chapel has benefited from the love, the grace, and the loyalty of Dottie Zimmerman. I can say with all surety that Mom loved each and every one of us. I'd like to just look for just a few minutes from the book of the Bible called the Book of Proverbs. In the Book of Proverbs, there's a chapter, chapter 31, that reminds me of Mom. Many of the verses remind me of my mother, our mother. The Book of Proverbs has been called the Book of Wisdom. And in the very last chapter, chapter 31, a question is posed. And the author, the writer says this: who can find a virtuous woman? For her price is far above rubies. I can raise my hand. I know one. I know one. I know her. Her name is Dottie. She's our mom. Her price is far above rubies. A virtuous woman is so valuable. She invested her time, her principles, her prayer, and her hard work into making who she was for herself, and so then she could give it to us. She was a complete package, a woman with balance, a nurturing heart, one who loved recklessly and cared deeply. I love to hold Mom's hand and pray with her. During her final weeks on this earth, we would pray together, and we would knit our hearts and our souls. Mom was priceless, for sure. The next verse tells us even more. It says this: the heart of her husband does safely trust in her. Dad and Mom had a true love story. Without a doubt, Dad's heart felt safe in Mom's hands. Being married for 72 years is proof that divine trust bonded them together to one another only. Dad trusted Mom with the weekly paycheck, with the discipline, as I remember, with holiday activities, and keeping the happy place for them. The Bible says she will do him good and not evil all the days of her life. That's a picture of our Mom. The description of this woman goes on to say that she works diligently with her hands. That is where the serving comes in. Day in, day out, always looking for a way to help, looking for a way to serve, looking to bring joy to others. Strength and honor are her clothing, and she shall rejoice in time to come. She looks well to the ways of her household and eats not the bread of idleness. Mom was always on the move with her many ideas. Her little home on Sharon Drive was her design studio, and she loved her happy place. It was not a palace, it was not a place of grandeur, but it was her haven of rest. We all know how she loved to decorate and redecorate and redecorate. She's the only one I know who had a shower curtain for every season. When I would visit Mom, she always wanted to show me her new decor. Mom was not idle. Until just a few days before her passing, she was busy crafting. She was trying to get a few more crafts made to give away. Thanks to her favorite nurse, Agnes, we went from making Christmas hats to St. Patrick's Day gnomes. Mom was looking ahead to sharing her craft with you, with her family and friends. Lastly, the description of a virtuous woman reads this. And I think not only her children, but her grandchildren will say this. Her children rise up and call her blessed. Mom was blessed. She passed along that blessing to her husband, to her children, to her family, and to her friends. Blessed simply means to be favored or fortunate. And we as her children or her nieces or whoever we are here, her friends, we can say, I was blessed to have known Dottie Zimmerman. Our days will be filled with longing to see her again, to hold those hands that held us so tenderly all the days of our lives. We have much to be thankful for. We now have the privilege and the responsibility to carry on the legacy that both Edward and Dorothy Zimmerman have left. By the grace of God, we can do it. I want to take a minute to thank a few people here today. Barbara, a true and trusted friend. Our family thanks you, Barbara, for your love, your friendship, and your care for our mom. She so enjoyed your visits and spoke always so highly of you. Jeanette, You are a prime example of loving your neighbor as yourself. We appreciate all that you did for our mother. And Mom, Agnes is not here, but I want to still say this. Mom's all-time favorite nurse, Agnes. Oh, Agnes, how she loved you. I think that Monday was her favorite day because Agnes was coming. Your steadfast care for our mom kept her going these past several months. She trusted you with her life. You are not just Nurse Agnes, you are friend Agnes. You encouraged her to look ahead, even to craft those green gnomes. Thank you, Agnes. Thank you, Barbara. Thank you, Jeanette. One final thank you goes to John Cannon for your care, your gentleness, your sensitivity, and your helpfulness during this time. Our mom really liked you too. Let me leave you with two thoughts. First, to whom much is given, much is required. And the greatest among us is the servant of all. Let's make Mom proud by putting our hands to the work that she has left behind. There's so much to say about one person in a tiny body, but I hope this has blessed you. I hope this has encouraged you and maybe given you a thought of maybe something that you would like to say. So if anyone, I'm just going to open it up. If you want to just stand where you are, sit where you are. If you all, or you want to come up here. Does anyone have anything to say about our mom, our grandma, our Gigi?
I just have something brief. Let me take my notes though. And some of it sounds like I copied your notes, but I didn't. Grandma and Mom, a devoted wife of 73 years, mom of 6 who she was so proud of, grandmother of 11, and Gigi of 9. She marveled at what she and Dad created. On several occasions, going back to November, when at a low point, Mom said, "Why is it taking so long to die?" It was that she had such a will to live, and one of the things that Mom was sad to think about was not watching all the grands and great-grands grow up. She loved each and every one of you and always enjoyed hearing what you were up to or watching posts on Facebook. She would light up each and every time she heard or saw any of the goings-on. Now she is watching down on all of us. What stands out to me, though, was the strength of this little mite of a woman. She always did what she thought she was supposed to do. She followed doctor's orders, took the 30 or so pills a day to try to keep herself going. She would always say, "I'm trying, I'm trying." She never felt sorry for herself, and she always looked forward. On a few occasions, I cried in front of her, which I didn't like to do, but hey, I'm a Zimmerman, and tears happen. Yeah. She was so strong and would firmly say, "Don't you cry," but I did anyway. I did not see her cry. She was so strong and had courage as she knew her limited days on this earth were approaching. I am thankful for the life that we had as a family and the upbringing we had. I would not change a thing. I loved Mom and Dad and loved my sisters and brother and all of you. Mom and I had a conversation back in the spring. She was so proud of her little house, and I asked her what she thought if John and I were to live there. She was beyond overjoyed to think that 13 Sharon Drive would stay in the family. John and I will be making that our home, and 869-9953 will still ring. The door will always be open. Mom, thank you for the life you gave and for all the memories. It's hard to think of life without you, but I'm glad that you are reunited with Dad, doing your 1-2-1-2 dance steps. And with Janet, I can only imagine the joy. I miss you, Mom, and will always hold you close to my heart until we meet again.
Katie does want to say something too, in just a second.
Sure. Does anyone else have anything? You're all preparing, aren't you? I think this is the difference in technology.
I feel like mine is a combination of yours and my mom's. So. And I apologize, I have a little bit of a cold, so.
So we're looking at our picture saying Gigi.
It didn't take much to make Grandma happy. A phone call, a card, a visit, or a kiss on the forehead before saying goodbye. She lived to make our lives better, and she was very proud of all of us. Grandma was beauty, she was grace, she was strong, and she loved with her whole heart. She was and will forever be all of those great things. Grandma taught me a lot. She inspired me and helped shape me into the woman I am today, and for that I'm forever grateful. One of the most amazing things about life is the ability to create an impact, a legacy, something that will be valued and treasured by those close to you, that you're leaving behind to remember you by. Each thing so unique to each and every one of us, but together those memories creates that beautiful story of life, the legacy of Grandma. As I reflect on my life and hers, I've realized there's a lot of similarities between the two of us. We all know Grandma loved being the center of attention in the cutest way possible. I do too at times. We both love to share our lives, experiences, recent purchases, and everything in between. She loves show and tell. The only difference between the two of us is I can keep track of who I tell through social media. We can all count the number of times we'd hear the same stories over and over, forgetting who she did and didn't tell. But that's what made her so special. No matter if it was the second or the fourth time, we all listened like it was our first. Her enthusiasm and passion for things and those she loved will forever be something I admired about her. She was never one to complain, and her will to live and stay a part of this family was something I'll never She never wanted to miss out on anything, and she didn't. She would always be so excited about any new modifications she made to the house, big or small, whether it be showing off her new shower, the new curtains she made. Don't forget about the matching pillowcases, the cutest little craft she was always making. We all remember when she made her own purses and had to match her outfits to them, which led to countless trips to Kohl's or Bon-Ton to find just the right shirt or scarf to go with it. That led to her making scarves. Kind of reminds me of the book, If You Give a Mouse a Cookie, but if Grandma makes a purse, she'll have to find a shirt to go with it. And if she finds a shirt, she'll have to make a scarf to go with it. She loved crafting and sharing what she made with everyone. She'd always say, I know it's not much, but I made this for you. That in itself was enough. Grandma was so giving in her own unique ways. You would never leave her house empty-handed. She truly held this family together. Celebrating her was always so easy. She was our shining star, and she will forever hold that place in our hearts. Grandma always wanted the best for me. She would always tell me how happy she was that I didn't end up becoming a nurse. She said I had too soft of a heart to do that. She was right. I know Grandma will be missed dearly. We all have so many beautiful memories with her, but it's our job now to continue her legacy, to love one another as much as she loved all of us. She would want nothing more than for us to stay close, and we owe it to her and ourselves to do that. I want to thank my mom, Aunt Mary, and Meg, and Kathy, Uncle Dave, for taking care of Grandma and Papa up until the very end of their lives. That in itself is a huge life lesson that I'll always appreciate, honor, and admire so much. The love you all had for your parents was unbelievable. Sacrificing your time away from work, your own families, your own time, to be there for the both of you. That bond you had with each other and with her was so beautiful and so strong, and you should always so
Anyone else? I know you all have something. We'll talk about it later. Mr. Evan is going to go ahead and tell us what we need to do now.
We will begin to make our way up to the gravesite. Everybody wants to follow along. And, once we get up to the gravesite, for those of you that would like to step forward to the gravesite, David is going to place an urn alongside to be buried with Dad's. So we'll bring the flowers with us and we can start moving that way.
Yes, and
we invite everybody to take a flower here. The idea is that you would place that flower alongside Mom's urn when you get up to the gravesite as a gesture of your farewell and your love. Thank you.
okay. So no one wants to say anything else? Okay, give you a last opportunity? No? Okay. And please take a flower on your way up and we'll all meet up at the gravesite.